The bass thumps through the hotel ballroom, rattling the champagne flutes on the tables. I lean against the wall, scanning the crowd. My wife, Laura, moves like a flame through the room, her red dress clinging in ways that turn heads, including mine. Normally, I'd feel pride. Tonight, unease churns in my gut. Laura insisted we attend her company holiday party. I didn't want to come, but she'd been adamant. "It's good for networking," she said, brushing off my reluctance with that disarming smile of hers. But now, as I sip a flat soda and watch her laugh too easily at some guy's joke, I wonder if there's more to her insistence. I push off the wall, weaving through the crowd. The man she's talking to is none other than her boss, Jace Adler, a self-assured executive with a permanent smirk. His hand hovers a little too close to her waist. Laura throws her head back at something he says, her laughter ringing out like a bell. My grip tightens around the soda glass. That's not the way she laughs at my jokes. "Hey, Alex," Laura calls, spotting me. She grabs my arm, pulling me into the conversation. "Jace, this is my husband, Alex." She beams, but I can feel the tension in her grip, like she's forcing normalcy. Jace extends his hand. "Alex, heard a lot about you." His tone is polished, his smile shark-like. I shake his hand, squeezing harder than necessary. "Funny, can't say the same about you." Laura tenses beside me. Jace just chuckles, like I'm some harmless insect. "Lara's one of the best on the team. You're a lucky man." "Yeah," I say, locking eyes with him. "I know." The moment stretches, taut as a wire. Then Jace claps me on the shoulder, too familiar, and excuses himself. "Enjoy the party," he says, his smirk lingering as he walks away. Laura exhales, her smile faltering. "Alex, what was that?" I don't answer. Instead, I take her drink from her hand and sip it, the sharp burn of whiskey grounding me. "Let's dance." "What?" "Dance," I say, my tone leaving no room for argument. "You wanted to have fun, right?" She hesitates, but follows me to the floor. I pull her close, my hand firm against the small of her back. "Is there something I should know, Laura?" I murmur into her ear. She stiffens. "What are you talking about?" "Jace." My voice is calm, too calm. "You're awfully comfortable with him." "It's nothing," she says quickly, but her eyes dart away, betraying her. The music shifts to something slower, the mood around us changing. I watch her, every gesture, every flicker of emotion. Something's off, and I know it in my gut. But I'm not a man who jumps to conclusions. I'll get my proof first. As the song ends, she pulls away, her smile forced. "I need to use the restroom." "Go ahead." I step back, giving her space but keeping my eyes on her as she slips through the crowd. She's heading toward the back hallway, not the main restrooms. My chest tightens. This party isn't what it seems. Laura disappears into the crowd, her red dress a flash of color in the sea of dark suits and cocktail attire. My instincts scream at me to follow, but I force myself to wait a moment, to play it cool. I grab another drink from the bar and lean against the counter, pretending to be engrossed in the party while my eyes track her every move. She doesn't head to the main restrooms. Instead, she takes a left down the hallway that leads to the conference rooms. My chest tightens as I drain my drink, setting the empty glass down with a little too much force. Something's definitely off. I make my way toward the hallway, moving deliberately, nodding at familiar faces to avoid suspicion. The pounding music fades as I step into the corridor, the quiet amplifying the sound of my footsteps on the polished floor. My pulse quickens, each step heavier than the last. The hallway is dimly lit, the soft glow of sconces casting shadows on the walls. I pause at the corner, listening. Laughter, hers, floats down the corridor, light and carefree, followed by a low murmur I can't make out. My jaw tightens. I peek around the corner and spot her, standing too close to Jace outside one of the conference rooms. He's leaning in, his hand brushing her arm. She doesn't pull away. Instead, she tilts her head, smiling in a way that twists my stomach into knots. My vision sharpens, my senses heightening as adrenaline floods my system. Every nerve in my body screams at me to charge in, to demand answers. But I hold back. I've been in enough high-stakes situations to know when to bide my time. I step back, slipping into the shadow of a nearby doorway. My heart pounds in my chest as I watch them through the crack, waiting for my opportunity. They're too caught up in each other to notice me. Jace unlocks the conference room door and gestures for her to go in. She hesitates for a split second, glancing back down the hallway, but then she steps inside. The door clicks shut behind them. Rage surges through me, hot and blinding, but I wrestle it down. Storming in now would only give them the upper hand. I need to see what's really happening, to have the full picture. My hands shake as I pull out my phone, activating the voice recorder. I move closer to the door, pressing myself against the wall beside it. Faint voices drift through the thin wood, muffled but distinct enough to make out snippets. Shouldn't be doing this here. That's Lara's voice, tinged with nervousness. Relax. No one's going to find us, Jace replies, his tone dripping with arrogance. I clench my fists, my nails digging into my palms as I force myself to stay rooted. I need to hear more, to let the betrayal sink in so I can confront her with all the cards in my hand. The door creaks open suddenly, and I barely have time to step back into the shadows. Lara peers out, scanning the hallway. My heart slams against my ribs as she lingers for a moment before pulling back inside. The door closes again, and I let out a slow breath. This is it. The moment that will either confirm my worst fears or prove me wrong. I steel myself, every muscle in my body coiled and ready. My hand hovers over the doorknob. It's time to face the truth. I grip the doorknob, my knuckles whitening as my mind races. This isn't just suspicion anymore. It's reality. My entire life hinges on what's behind this door. Every memory, every promise, every ounce of trust built over years feels like it's crumbling to ash. But I'm not a man to shy away from confrontation. The voices inside grow clearer as I steel myself. Jace's low murmur and Lara's laugh. Once music to my ears, now venom in my veins. My hand turns the knob, slow and deliberate, not caring about stealth anymore. The door creaks open, revealing a dimly lit conference room. The sight inside freezes me in place. Lara is leaning against the long wooden table, her body tilted toward Jace, who's standing close, too close. His hand brushes her cheek, and she doesn't pull away. My chest constricts, the air around me thick with betrayal. They're so engrossed in their moment that they don't even notice me. Until I speak. Am I interrupting something? My voice cuts through the room like a blade. Lara jumps back, her eyes wide with shock, while Jace's smirk falters for the briefest moment. The air shifts, charged with tension as I step inside, closing the door behind me. My gaze locks onto Lara, her face flushed as she stammers for words. Alex, it's not what it looks like. Save it. My tone is ice, sharper than the rage coursing through me. I gave you the benefit of the doubt, Lara. I trusted you. Jace straightens, his smirk returning as he steps forward, arms crossed like he owns the room. Look, Alex, this is just a misunderstanding. I meet his gaze, my jaw tightening. You think I'm stupid? Do you think I didn't see what was happening? His smug grin only fuels the fire roaring inside me. I take a step closer, towering over him, and his confidence falters. This isn't your business, he says, his voice wavering slightly. Lara's a grown woman. She can make her own decisions. Oh, she's made plenty of decisions. I snap, my voice rising. And so have you. Like deciding it was a good idea to touch another man's wife. Lara steps between us, her hands outstretched as if to diffuse the tension. Alex, please, let's just talk about this. Talk? I bark a bitter laugh. You want to talk? Fine. Let's start with why you're sneaking around with your boss. Her face crumples, guilt and fear warring in her expression. She glances at Jace, and that one look is all I need to know this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment mistake. This was planned. Calculated. Get out, Jace, I say, my tone deadly calm. Before I do something we'll both regret. He hesitates, but something in my eyes must convince him I'm not bluffing. He raises his hands in mock surrender and brushes past me, muttering, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." The door slams behind him, leaving me alone with Lara. She stands there, wringing her hands, her eyes glistening with tears. Alex, don't. I cut her off, my voice breaking despite my effort to stay composed. Don't insult me by trying to explain this away. The room feels suffocating as I pace, trying to wrestle my emotions back under control. Anger, pain, betrayal. They all swirl in my chest, threatening to spill over. Was it worth it? I finally ask, stopping to face her. Throwing everything we built away for a fling with that sleazeball? It wasn't like that, she whispers, her voice trembling. I wasn't thinking, You weren't thinking? My voice rises, the words slicing through the silence. You weren't thinking about me? About us? About the life we were building? Her tears spill over, but they don't move me. Not this time. She steps toward me, reaching out, but I back away, the distance between us growing as the weight of her betrayal crashes down like a tidal wave. You made your choice, Laura, I say, my voice steadier now. And now, I'm making mine. I turn and leave the room, the sound of her sobs echoing behind me. Each step I take feels like shedding the chains of a life built on lies. My hands shake as I pull my phone from my pocket, dialing a number I never thought I'd need. Mike, I say when my best friend answers. I need a place to crash tonight. The cold night air bites at my face as I step out of the hotel, my body trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief. My feet move automatically, carrying me to my car, but my mind is miles away, replaying the scene in that room over and over. Every laugh, every touch, they're burned into my memory like scars. Mike picks up on the first ring. His voice is warm, steady. Alex? You okay? No, I say bluntly, my voice barely more than a growl. Can I crash at your place tonight? Of course. What happened? His tone shifts, concern bleeding through. I hesitate. Talking about it feels like admitting it's real, like solidifying the nightmare I'm living. But Mike's been my rock for years. If anyone can handle the weight of this, it's him. It's Laura, I say, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ache. She's been seeing someone. I caught her tonight. There's a long pause, and then Mike swears under his breath. Where are you? Leaving the party. Come over. Now. The line goes dead, and I toss my phone onto the passenger seat. The drive to Mike's feels endless, the streetlights blurring together as my mind churns. Every smile Laura ever gave me feels tainted now, every memory cracked and broken. When I finally pull into Mike's driveway, he's already waiting on the porch, arms crossed, a grim expression on his face. He doesn't say anything as I climb out of the car, but the look in his eyes says enough. Inside, the warmth of his apartment contrasts sharply with the cold void I feel inside. He hands me a beer and gestures to the couch. Start from the beginning. I take a long swig, the bitter liquid burning as it goes down. It was the holiday party. She's been acting off for weeks, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Then tonight, I trail off, struggling to find the words. Mike leans forward, his jaw tight. You saw her with him? In a conference room, I say, my voice flat. Her boss, Jace. She was with him, laughing, touching. It wasn't innocent. He exhales sharply, his hands clenching into fists. That piece of, he stops himself, shaking his head. And Laura? What did she say? She tried to deny it, said it wasn't what it looked like, but it was exactly what it looked like. I take another swig, the rage boiling to the surface again. I don't even know how long this has been going on. How many times has she lied to my face? Mike doesn't respond right away. He's quiet, calculating. Finally, he asks, what's your next move? The question hits me hard. My next move? For years, my life revolved around Laura. Every decision I made, every plan I had, it was all for us. Now, the foundation of everything is gone, crumbled under the weight of her betrayal. I don't know, I admit, my voice breaking. I feel like I don't even know who I am without her. Mike sits back, his gaze steady. You're Alex, he says firmly, and you're stronger than this. Laura made her choice, but now it's your turn. Do you want to let this destroy you, or do you want to fight back? The words hang in the air, heavy and electric. Fight back. My mind latches onto the idea like a lifeline. I can't change what she's done, but I can decide how this ends. I set the beer down and look Mike in the eye. I need to know everything. I need proof. I'm not going to let her walk away from this unscathed. Mike nods, his expression darkening. I know a guy. He's good at digging up dirt. You'll have your proof. A plan begins to take shape in my mind, fueled by anger and determination. Laura thought she could play me for a fool, but she doesn't know who she's dealing with. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Mike's contact turns out to be exactly what I need. A sharp, no-nonsense private investigator named Ryan. By the next morning, we're sitting in a small cafe, steam rising from untouched cups of coffee as Ryan scribbles notes in a leather-bound notebook. His demeanor is calm, professional, but there's a glint in his eye that tells me he enjoys his work. So, you're looking for confirmation, Ryan says, his voice steady. Evidence you can use if this goes to court? I nod, my hands gripping the edge of the table. I don't just want confirmation. I want the whole story, every detail, every lie she's told me. Ryan leans back, tapping his pen against his notebook. That's doable. I'll need access to her phone records, credit card statements, anything that can establish a pattern. I can get you that, I say without hesitation. Mike, sitting beside me, crosses his arms and nods in support. Ryan jots something down, then looks up. And her boss? Jace, right? You want me to follow him too? The thought of Jace makes my blood boil, but I force myself to stay composed. Yes, if he's been involved with her, I want to know how long it's been going on, where they meet, what they've been doing. Ryan closes his notebook with a decisive snap. All right, I'll get started today. Expect updates within the week. As he leaves, I feel a mix of relief and apprehension. I've taken the first step, but the road ahead is uncharted. Mike claps me on the shoulder as we step out of the cafe. You're doing the right thing, Alex. The truth is the first step to getting your life back. His words stick with me as I drive home, the silence of the car broken only by the occasional hum of the engine. The truth. That's what I want, isn't it? Or do I already know it, deep down, and just need to see it laid bare? When I pull into the driveway, Lara's car is already there. She's sitting on the porch, her face pale and drawn. My chest tightens as I step out of the car, her gaze locking onto mine. We need to talk, she says, her voice trembling. Do we? I reply, my tone colder than I intend. I think everything was pretty clear last night. She stands, wringing her hands. Alex, please. It's not what you think. I laugh, the sound bitter and sharp. Not what I think. I walked in on you with your boss, Laura. What part of that am I misunderstanding? Her eyes fill with tears, but I don't let myself feel anything. Not pity, not anger. Just the cold determination to see this through. I made a mistake, she says, her voice cracking. I wasn't thinking straight. I got caught up in something stupid. You're damn right it was stupid, I snap, stepping closer. You didn't just make a mistake, Laura. You betrayed me. You lied to my face and made me feel like I was losing my mind for suspecting anything. She flinches, but I don't let up. How long has this been going on? How many times have you lied about where you were, who you were with? Alex, she chokes on her words, unable to meet my eyes. That's all the answer I need. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. You've made your choices, Laura. Now it's my turn. I want the truth, and I'll find it, with or without your help. Her face crumples as I turn and walk past her into the house. My chest feels heavy, but there's no turning back now. Ryan will uncover everything, and when he does, Laura and Jace will regret ever underestimating me. The week crawls by, each day stretching into an eternity. I throw myself into work, into anything that keeps my mind from spiraling back to the image of Laura and Jace in that room. But no matter how busy I try to stay, the anger simmers beneath the surface, bubbling up every time my phone buzzes with a message from Ryan. The first update comes 3 days later. I'm sitting at my desk, staring blankly at a spreadsheet when my phone vibrates. It's Ryan. His message is simple, direct. Got something. Need to meet. Tonight, 7 p.m., my office. I spend the rest of the day in a haze, anticipation and dread gnawing at my insides. By the time I arrive at Ryan's office, my hands are trembling. The place is a no-frills setup, bare walls, a desk piled with folders, and a whiteboard covered in notes and diagrams. Ryan gestures for me to sit as he flips open a manila folder. "Here's what I've got so far," he says, sliding a stack of photos and documents across the desk. "Your wife and Jace have been meeting regularly. Hotels, bars, sometimes even during work hours." I pick up the photos, my stomach lurching at the sight of Laura and Jace together. One image shows them entering a hotel, her hand brushing against his arm. Another captures them sitting at a dimly lit bar, their faces close as they laugh over drinks. "How long?" I manage to ask, my voice hoarse. Ryan taps the folder. "From what I've pieced together, it's been going on for at least 6 months. Maybe longer." My grip tightens on the photos, my knuckles whitening. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of betrayal. The rage I've been holding back threatens to explode, but I force myself to focus. "What else?" I ask, my tone sharp. Ryan leans back, folding his arms. "Jace has a reputation. He's had affairs before, several, actually. But this one's different. He's being reckless, taking risks he hasn't taken before." "Why?" I ask, though I already know the answer. "Because he thinks he can get away with it," Ryan says. "He's arrogant, Alex. Men like him think they're untouchable." My jaw clenches as I stare at the evidence. Every image and document a nail in the coffin of my marriage. "And Laura?" I ask, my voice quieter now. "What's her part in this?" Ryan hesitates, his gaze steady. "She's complicit. I don't know if she's in love with him or just caught up in the excitement, but she's not innocent in this." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, even though I already suspected as much. I set the photos down, my hands shaking. "I need more," I say finally. "I need something that will leave no doubt." Ryan nods, his expression firm. "I'll keep digging." As I leave his office, the weight of the evidence settles heavily on my shoulders. The truth is undeniable now, laid out in black and white. But the question lingers in my mind. What do I do with it? By the time I get home, Laura is waiting for me again. She looks up from the couch as I walk in, her face pale and drawn. "Alex, can we please talk?" I drop my keys on the table, ignoring her. "There's nothing to talk about, Laura." "Please," she says, standing and moving toward me. "I know I hurt you, but we can fix this." "I can fix this." I stop, turning to face her, and for the first time, I let the anger show. "You can't fix this, Laura. You can't undo the lies or the betrayal. The only thing you can do now is tell me the truth. The whole truth." Her lips tremble, but she says nothing. I shake my head, the silence confirming what I already know. "I'll find out everything, Laura. And when I do, you'll have to live with what you've done." I leave her standing there, tears streaming down her face. In my room, I sit on the edge of the bed, the photos from Ryan's folder burned into my mind. This isn't just about betrayal anymore. It's about justice. The house feels colder than usual, like the warmth that once lived here has fled. Laura moves through it like a ghost, her presence barely registering as I prepare for work the next morning. Her eyes are red, swollen from crying, but I can't bring myself to feel pity. Not yet. "Alex," she starts as I grab my jacket from the hook by the door. "Please, just listen." I pause, hand on the doorknob. The weight of everything she's done presses down on me, but I don't turn around. "Laura, if you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, don't waste my time." Her breath hitches, and when she doesn't respond, I step outside, slamming the door behind me. I don't look back. Work is a blur. My colleagues' voices are muffled, their jokes and small talk washing over me like static. I go through the motions, my mind consumed by the images Ryan showed me. Each one is a knife, twisting deeper with every glance. At lunch, Ryan calls. His voice is low, clipped. "We've got more." I grip my phone tighter. "How much more?" "A lot. Jace isn't just seeing Laura. He's using his position to coerce other women at the company. HR complaints, hush money, the works." My stomach churns. It's bad enough that Jace has been with my wife. The idea that he's using his power to prey on others makes my blood boil. "What about Laura?" I ask, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. She's his longest-standing affair, Ryan replies. But based on what I've found, she's not the only one. The words hit like a punch to the gut, and for a moment, I can't breathe. I grip the edge of my desk, forcing myself to focus. Keep digging. I want everything. When I get home that evening, the house is dark. Lara's car is in the driveway, but she doesn't greet me at the door like she usually does. Instead, I find her in the living room, curled up on the couch, a glass of wine clutched in her hands. "You're late," she says softly, her eyes fixed on the dark screen of the TV. "I had things to do," I reply, my voice flat. She turns to look at me, her expression pleading. "Alex, we can't keep living like this. We need to talk." I laugh bitterly, dropping my bag onto the floor. "Talk? About what, Laura?" "About how you've been lying to me. How you've been sneaking around with your boss while I was here, believing in us." She flinches, her grip on the wine glass tightening. "It's not what you think," she whispers. "Then tell me," I snap, stepping closer. "Tell me what it is. Explain to me how months of lies and betrayal are somehow not what I think." Tears spill down her cheeks, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she shakes her head, her silence louder than any confession. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You know what, Laura? Don't bother. I'm done waiting for the truth from you. I'll find it myself." Her face crumples as I turn and leave the room. I climb the stairs 2 at a time, slamming the bedroom door behind me. The anger surges again, and for a moment, I want to destroy something, to lash out and release the storm inside me. But I don't. Instead, I grab my phone and text Ryan. "What's next?" His response is immediate. "I'll have a full report for you tomorrow. Be ready." The next day, I meet Ryan at his office again. This time, he doesn't hand me photos or documents. Instead, he pulls out a USB drive and slides it across the desk. "What's this?" I ask, picking it up. "Audio and video," he says. "Conversations, meetings, even an encounter in the office after hours. It's everything you need." My grip tightens on the drive as the full weight of his words sinks in. I thank him, slipping the drive into my pocket before heading home. That night, as Laura sleeps in the guest room, I sit at the dining table with my laptop, the USB drive plugged in. My heart pounds as I open the first file, bracing myself for the confirmation I already know is coming. The truth isn't just devastating, it's undeniable. The glow of my laptop screen casts long shadows in the dimly lit dining room. My hands hover over the trackpad, my breathing shallow as I brace myself for what I'm about to see. The first file opens, a video, and I hit play. The footage is grainy but clear enough. It's from an office camera, time-stamped 2 months ago. I watch as Jace steps into a corner office, his demeanor cocky as always. Moments later, Laura enters. She closes the door behind her, and my chest tightens. Their interaction is casual at first. Papers exchanged, laughter shared. But then he moves closer, his hand brushing her arm. She doesn't pull away. I pause the video, my vision blurring with rage. Every fiber of my being screams to shut the laptop, to throw it across the room, but I force myself to keep watching. The evidence is undeniable, and I need to see it through. The video continues. Jace leans in, whispering something to Laura, and she smiles. A smile I once thought was meant only for me. The next moments play out like a nightmare. His hands find her waist, pulling her close, and she doesn't resist. I clench my jaw as the scene unfolds, every second a dagger to the heart. I close the video, my hands trembling. Another file waits, this one audio. I hesitate, but curiosity and anger compel me to click. The sound of Jace's voice fills the room, his tone smug and self-assured. "Don't worry about him," he says, laughing. "Alex doesn't need to know. Besides, you're too good to be stuck with someone like that." Lara's voice follows, quieter, hesitant. "I can't keep doing this. It's not fair." "Fair?" Jace's laugh is sharp, dismissive. "You deserve to be happy, Laura. And let's be honest, he's not making you happy, is he?" The audio cuts off abruptly, leaving a deafening silence in its wake. I sit back in my chair, the weight of it all crashing down on me. This isn't just betrayal. It's calculated, deliberate. Jace didn't just steal my wife. He manipulated her, convinced her that what they were doing was justified. But she made her choice. She let him. The anger surges again, hot and blinding. But this time it's tempered by a chilling clarity. I know what I have to do. The next morning, I call Ryan. I need copies of everything, I say, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. You got it, he replies. What's your plan? Justice, I say simply. Laura is waiting in the kitchen when I get home that evening. She looks up as I walk in, her face pale. Alex, we need to talk. Do we? I set my bag down, my tone colder than ice. She flinches but presses on. I know you've been distant and I understand why. But if we don't talk, we can't fix this. I laugh bitterly, shaking my head. Fix this? You think there's a way to fix what you've done? Her eyes fill with tears. I made a mistake, Alex. A terrible mistake. But I love you, and I want to make things right. I step closer, locking eyes with her. Love? You call this love? Sneaking around with your boss, lying to my face, humiliating me? That's not love, Laura. That's betrayal. She breaks down, her sobs filling the silence of the room. I don't move to comfort her. Not this time. I know you're sorry, I say, my voice steady. But sorry doesn't erase what you've done, and it won't stop what's coming. She looks up, confusion and fear etched on her face. What do you mean? I pull the USB drive from my pocket, holding it up. This, I say simply. It's everything. Proof of your affair, proof of Jace's manipulation, proof of how both of you destroyed what we had. Her eyes widen, panic replacing the tears. Alex, please, don't do this. It's too late, Laura, I say, slipping the drive back into my pocket. You made your choices. Now, I'm making mine. I turn and leave her standing there, her sobs echoing behind me. The die is cast. It's time to set the plan in motion. The following morning, I sit in my car outside the company headquarters, the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The building looms large and sterile, a monument to the arrogance of men like Jace. My plan is simple, calculated, and airtight. Jace thinks he's untouchable, but he doesn't know what's coming. Ryan's voice echoes in my mind as I go over the final details of the plan. Timing is everything, he'd said. If you hit too early, they might recover. Too late, and it'll lose its impact. Strike when they least expect it. Today is that moment. I walk into the lobby, my heart pounding in time with my footsteps. The receptionist greets me with a polite smile, completely unaware of the storm about to break. I ask for HR, flashing a confident smile that belies the tension in my chest. The HR manager, a composed woman in her early 50s, greets me in her office. Her nameplate reads Deborah Langston, and her sharp eyes miss nothing. Mr. Reed, what can I do for you? I place the USB drive on her desk, the weight of it heavier than I expected. This contains evidence of serious misconduct involving your vice president, Jace Adler. Affairs with employees, harassment, and misuse of company resources. Her eyes widen slightly, but she maintains her professional demeanor. Do you have proof? I nod. Everything's on that drive. Audio, video, and documents. And before you ask, yes, it's all legally obtained. She picks up the drive, her expression unreadable. I'll need time to review this. Take all the time you need, I say. But understand that if the company doesn't act, this will go public. Her lips press into a thin line. Understood. I leave the office, my chest lighter than it's felt in weeks. Jace has played his games for too long, and now, he's about to pay the price. Later that evening, I get a call from Deborah. Mr. Reed, we've reviewed the evidence. I'd like to thank you for bringing this to our attention. The company has a strict no-tolerance policy for misconduct. And Jace? I ask, my voice steady. He's being placed on immediate leave, pending an internal investigation. We'll be notifying him tomorrow morning. I hang up, a grim smile tugging at my lips. The first domino has fallen. When I return home, Laura is waiting for me, her face pale and drawn. She's been like this for days, hovering on the edge of desperation, but I don't let it sway me. Alex, she says softly, her voice trembling, please, I know I've hurt you, but can we talk? I sit across from her at the kitchen table, the silence stretching like a chasm between us. Talk, I say simply. She fidgets with her hands, her eyes darting nervously. I know what I did was unforgivable. I let Jace manipulate me. I got caught up in something I didn't know how to get out of. Spare me the excuses, Laura. I say, my tone cutting. You weren't a victim. You made choices. Her eyes fill with tears, but I don't waver. Do you love him? I ask, my voice sharp. No, she says quickly, shaking her head. It wasn't about love. It was stupid, reckless. I wasn't thinking. I lean back in my chair, studying her. Do you even understand what you've done? You didn't just betray me. You betrayed us. The life we were building. And for what? A fling with a man who sees you as disposable? She flinches, her tears spilling over, but I press on. I've already taken steps, Laura. Jace won't get away with this. But as for us, I trail off, letting the weight of my words sink in. Alex, please, she whispers. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job. Just don't give up on us. I stand, my chest tightening as I look down at her. You gave up on us the moment you chose him over me. There's nothing left to save. Her sobs echo behind me as I walk away, my resolve hardening. The first strike has landed, but the fight isn't over. Jace and Laura still have more to answer for. The next day, the office buzzes with whispers. Jace's absence hasn't gone unnoticed, and the cracks in his polished facade are starting to show. Employees exchange furtive glances, their conversations dipping into hushed tones whenever someone walks by. The corporate giant is beginning to tremble, and I know it's only a matter of time before it topples. Ryan texts me a simple update. HR delivered the news this morning. Jace is out. I stare at the message, a grim satisfaction settling in my chest. It's not over, not by a long shot, but it's a start. Laura is quiet when I get home that evening. She's sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, but the tension in her posture is impossible to miss. I don't say anything as I pass her on my way to the kitchen, letting the silence stretch between us like a canyon. Alex, she says finally, her voice hesitant. People at work are talking. About Jace. I stop, turning to face her. What are they saying? Her gaze drops to her hands, fingers twisting together nervously. That he's been suspended. That there's an investigation. I cross my arms, leaning against the doorframe. And her head snaps up, her eyes wide. Did you have something to do with this? I hold her gaze, unflinching. What if I did? Her face pales, and for a moment, she looks like she might argue. But then she slumps back against the couch, defeated. I don't know what to do, she whispers. That makes two of us, I reply coldly before turning back to the kitchen. The following morning, I receive another call from Ryan. His voice is brisk, but there's an edge of excitement. Alex, you're going to want to see this. He sends over a file, and when I open it, my stomach turns. It's a report detailing Jace's long history of misconduct, going back years. Affairs, harassment complaints, misuse of company funds. It's worse than I imagined. And Laura isn't the first woman he's dragged into his orbit. What's the plan? I ask, my voice tight. HR will use this as grounds to terminate him, but there's more. A group of employees is considering legal action. If you're willing, your evidence could push this over the edge. I think about it for a moment, the weight of the decision settling heavily on my shoulders. This isn't just about Jace anymore. It's about every person he's manipulated, every life he's disrupted. Do it, I say finally. Use whatever you need. Ryan's tone softens. You're doing the right thing, Alex. When I hang up, I feel a strange sense of clarity. Jace is going down, and while it won't undo the damage he's caused, it'll make damn sure he can't hurt anyone else. Later that evening, Laura approaches me cautiously, her expression wary. Alex, I heard Jace might be fired. He should be, I say, not bothering to hide the venom in my voice. He's a predator, Laura, and you let him drag you into his mess. Her face crumples, tears spilling down her cheeks. I know, she sobs. I know I made a mistake, but I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? I snap, my voice rising. Why did you risk everything for a man like him? I don't know. She cries, her hands trembling. I was stupid, reckless. I thought. I don't even know what I thought. I shake my head, the anger giving way to something colder. You didn't think, Laura. And now, we're both paying the price. Her sobs fill the silence as I walk away, leaving her alone with her guilt. The pieces are falling into place, but there's still one thing left to do. Tomorrow, I'll confront Jace. The next morning, I sit in my car outside Jace's favorite cafe, the one he frequents like clockwork before heading into work, at least when he had work. Ryan had tipped me off that Jace had been called in for an emergency meeting with the board, likely to finalize his termination. If there was ever a moment to confront him, it's now. The air is crisp, the sky a dull gray, as I watch him stroll out of the cafe with his coffee in hand. His usual swagger is muted, the smirk replaced by a tight, impatient expression. He glances at his phone, unaware of my approach until I'm right in front of him. Jace. He freezes mid-step, his eyes darting up to meet mine. For a moment, surprise flickers across his face, but then his arrogance returns, a faint smirk curling his lips. Alex, to what do I owe the pleasure? My fists clench at my sides, but I keep my voice steady. We need to talk. About what? He shrugs, feigning innocence. If this is about Laura, don't. I cut him off, my tone sharp. Don't even say her name. He raises an eyebrow, taking a sip of his coffee like he doesn't have a care in the world. All right then. What's this about? It's about you, I say, stepping closer. Your lies, your manipulation, and the trail of destruction you've left behind. Jace chuckles, shaking his head. You sound like a man who doesn't know how to move on. Lara's a grown woman, Alex. She made her choices. And you made yours, I snap. But here's the difference. Yours are about to catch up with you. His smirk falters slightly, but he recovers quickly, his tone dripping with condescension. You think you can intimidate me? You're wasting your time. I take another step forward, lowering my voice. Intimidation isn't my goal, Jace. I don't need to scare you. I've already beaten you. His jaw tightens, the first crack in his armor. What are you talking about? You've been suspended, I say, savoring the flicker of fear in his eyes. The board knows everything. Your affairs, your harassment, your misuse of company resources. You're finished. He scoffs, but the confidence in his voice wavers. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? I pull out my phone, opening one of the videos Ryan provided. The screen shows Jace in his office, his hands on Laura, his voice low and suggestive. I don't play the audio, but it's enough. His face pales. Where did you get that? He demands, his voice rising. That's not your concern, I reply, slipping the phone back into my pocket. What matters is that the board has seen it too, and so has HR. By the end of the day, you'll be out of a job, and if you're lucky, that's all you'll lose. Jace takes a step back, his composure slipping further. You can't prove anything? I don't need to, I say, my voice cold. You've already buried yourself. But let me be clear. If you come near me or Laura again, I'll make sure the rest of your life is just as miserable as the lives you've ruined. He doesn't respond, his jaw working as he glares at me. For the first time, he looks unsure, like the weight of his actions is finally starting to sink in. I turn to leave, but before I go, I glance over my shoulder. Enjoy the meeting with the board, Jace. Something tells me it won't go your way. The satisfaction of seeing him squirm fuels me as I walk back to my car. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I'm taking control of my life again. But there's still more to do. Laura and I have unfinished business. The confrontation with Jace had given me a sense of clarity, but as I pull into the driveway later that day, the knot in my stomach tightens. The fight isn't over, not with him, not with Laura, and not with myself. For weeks, my life has been consumed by anger, betrayal, and doubt. But now, the pieces are starting to fall into place. I step inside the house, the the familiar scent of lavender barely registering. Laura is sitting at the dining table, a half-empty glass of wine in front of her. She looks up as I enter, her eyes puffy and red. She's been crying again, but I've stopped letting it affect me. We need to talk, I say, setting my keys on the counter. She nods, her hands trembling as she sets down the glass. I know. I take a seat across from her, folding my arms on the table. You've had time to think, Laura. I want answers. The truth, the whole truth. No more excuses, no more lies. Her gaze drops to the table, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know where to start. Start with why, I say, my tone hard. Why him? Why any of this? She takes a shaky breath, her fingers twisting together. I didn't plan for it to happen. At first, it was just harmless flirting. Jace was attentive. He made me feel special, noticed me in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. I bite back the sharp retort bubbling in my chest. And I didn't? No, you did, she says quickly, her eyes filling with tears. But it was different. We got so caught up in the routine of life. Work, bills, everything. I started feeling invisible, and Jace, he was there. I leaned back, the weight of her words pressing down on me. So, what? You needed excitement? Validation? And you thought cheating was the answer? Her tears spill over, and she nods miserably. I know it sounds selfish. I wasn't thinking about what it would do to you, to us. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, I say sharply. What you did was a choice. Over and over again. She flinches at my words, her hands gripping the edge of the table. You're right, she whispers. I chose wrong. I hurt you in ways I can't even begin to fix. But I want to try. Please, Alex. I'll do whatever it takes. I study her, the raw vulnerability in her expression. For a moment, I almost feel the pull of the woman I fell in love with, the woman I thought I knew. But the memory of that night, the images, the sounds, surges back, dousing any flicker of compassion. I don't know if that's possible, I say finally, my voice quiet but firm. You broke something between us, Laura. Something that may never be repaired. Her face crumples, and she buries her face in her hands, sobbing. Please, she chokes out. Don't give up on me. On us. I stand, the chair scraping against the floor. I don't know what the future holds, but right now, I need time. Time to think, to process. And you need to do the same. She looks up, desperation in her eyes. Are you leaving? For now, I say, grabbing my keys. I'll be back, but we need space. Both of us. Her sobs follow me out the door as I climb into my car. My hands grip the steering wheel tightly as I pull out of the driveway. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay here. Not yet. As the city lights blur past me, one thing becomes clear. The road ahead is long, and the answers I'm searching for won't come easily. But I'm not done fighting. Not for my dignity, not for my future, and maybe, just maybe, not for us. The highway stretches ahead of me, endless and empty. The city lights fade into the rearview mirror as I drive, my thoughts louder than the hum of the engine. I don't know where I'm going, but the road feels like the only place I can breathe. The air in that house had been suffocating, thick with unspoken words and broken trust. I pull into a small roadside diner, the kind with flickering neon signs and peeling paint. The parking lot is nearly empty, save for a few trucks and a lone sedan. The bell above the door jingles as I step inside, the smell of coffee and fried food washing over me. It's a comfort I didn't know I needed. Sit anywhere, the waitress calls, not looking up from her notepad. I slide into a booth by the window, my back to the room. The menu is sticky, the lettering faded, but I don't need to read it. Coffee, I say when the waitress approaches. Black. She nods, pouring the steaming liquid into a chipped mug. Rough night? I glance up at her, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a kind smile. Something like that. She doesn't press, just leaves the coffee and walks away. I sip it slowly, the bitterness grounding me. My mind races, replaying every conversation, every fight, every lie. Lara's tears, her pleas for forgiveness, they're all echoes now, distant and hollow. I pull out my phone, scrolling aimlessly through messages and photos. There's one of Laura and me from a year ago, smiling in front of a Christmas tree. We look happy, and for the first time, I wonder if that happiness was real or just a mask we both wore. "Mind if I join you?" a familiar voice asks, pulling me from my thoughts. I look up to see Mike standing there, a concerned expression on his face. "How did you find me?" He shrugs, sliding into the seat across from me. "You're predictable. I figured you'd end up somewhere like this." I shake my head, a small smile tugging at my lips despite everything. "You know me too well." He leans forward, his elbows on the table. "So, what's the plan, Alex? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're running." "I'm not running," I say, though the words feel hollow. "I just needed space." Mike doesn't buy it. "Space won't fix this. You've got decisions to make, man. Big ones. And they won't get any easier the longer you wait." I sigh, running a hand through my hair. I don't know what to do, Mike. Part of me wants to walk away, to leave all this behind and start fresh. But another part of me, I don't know. It's like I can't let go. "Because you still love her," he says, matter of fact. I look away, the truth of his words settling heavily in my chest. Maybe. Or maybe I just love who I thought she was. Mike nods slowly, his expression thoughtful. "Look, Alex, I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you this. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it sure as hell doesn't mean letting her off the hook. If you're going to try and make this work, it has to be on your terms." "And if I can't?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Then you walk," he says simply. "But not out of anger. Not out of spite. You walk because it's the best thing for you." His words linger as I stare out the window, the neon sign casting a faint glow on the glass. For the first time in weeks, the fog in my mind begins to clear. I still don't have all the answers, but I know one thing for sure. I need to face this head-on, not just for me, but for whatever comes next. I finish my coffee, leaving a few bills on the table before standing. "Thanks, Mike," I say, clapping him on the shoulder. "I needed this." "Anytime," he replies, a small smile on his face. "Now go figure out what you want." The drive back to the city feels lighter, the weight in my chest easing with every mile. As I pull into the driveway, the house looms ahead, still and quiet. I sit in the car for a moment, gathering my thoughts, before stepping inside. It's time to make a decision. The house is silent as I step inside, the faint glow of a single lamp in the living room casting long shadows. Laura isn't on the couch where I left her earlier, and for a moment, I wonder if she's gone to bed or left altogether. The thought doesn't spark the panic it might have weeks ago. Instead, it feels like inevitability. I set my keys on the table and head toward the stairs. The creak of a floorboard stops me, and I turn to see Laura standing in the doorway to the kitchen. She's clutching a mug, her eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "You're back." "Yeah," I say, leaning against the banister. Needed some time to think. Her grip tightens on the mug. And I study her, the woman I once thought I knew better than anyone. Now, she feels like a stranger, someone I'm trying to decipher through a fog of pain and betrayal. "And we need to talk. For real this time." She nods slowly, setting the mug down on the counter before moving to sit on the couch. I follow, sitting across from her, the table between us feeling like a barrier neither of us is ready to cross. "I've been honest about how I feel," I begin, my voice calm but firm. "But now, I need to know where you stand. No excuses, no half-truths. Just the truth, Laura. What do you want?" Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, and she takes a deep breath before speaking. "I want to fix this. To fix us. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. I love you, Alex, and I hate myself for what I did." I lean forward, my elbows resting on my knees. "And what about him? Jace? Did you love him?" She shakes her head vehemently. "No, it wasn't about love. He made me feel noticed, and I let myself get swept up in it. But it was never real. It was a mistake. A mistake you made repeatedly," I point out, my tone sharper than I intended. "You don't just stumble into an affair, Laura. You made a choice, over and over. Her tears spill over, but I don't let them sway me. This is the moment where everything comes to a head, where the lines are drawn. You want another chance? I continue, my voice softening slightly. But that's not just about words, Laura. It's about actions. And I'm not sure I've seen anything to show me that you're willing to do the work. I'll quit my job, she says quickly. I already told HR I'm resigning. I'll go to therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I nod, considering her words. That's a start. But it's not just about fixing you. It's about fixing us. And I don't even know if I can trust you enough to try. Her face crumples, and she clasps her hands together like she's praying. I'll prove it to you, Alex. I swear. I'll do whatever it takes. I sit back, running a hand through my hair. The weight of the decision presses down on me, but I know I can't keep living in this limbo. Here's the deal, Laura. We'll try counseling, together and individually. But this is on my terms. You follow through, or we're done. No second chances. She nods quickly, relief flashing across her face. Thank you, she whispers. I won't let you down again. I hold up a hand, stopping her. Don't thank me yet. This isn't forgiveness, Laura. This is the chance. And that's all it is for now. She nods again, tears streaming down her cheeks. I understand. We sit in silence for a moment, the air thick with unspoken emotions. For the first time in weeks, I feel a sliver of clarity. The road ahead is uncertain, but at least now, it feels like there's a direction. Good night, Laura, I say, standing. Good night, Alex, she whispers. As I head up the stairs, I feel the weight of the day lifting slightly. It's not over, but it's a step. And for now, that's enough. The next morning, the air in the house feels lighter, though the tension hasn't entirely lifted. Laura moves around the kitchen with a quiet determination, making coffee and preparing breakfast like she's trying to hold on to a semblance of normalcy. I sit at the table, watching her, my thoughts still tangled in a web of uncertainty. I called HR, she says finally, breaking the silence. I've officially resigned. I nod, acknowledging her effort. Good. It's a step. She sets a mug of coffee in front of me, her hands shaking slightly. I also made an appointment with a therapist. For myself. I figured it's a good place to start. I take a sip of the coffee, letting the warmth spread through me. It is, I reply. But you need to be ready for more than just starting. This is going to take work. Hard work. She nods, her eyes meeting mine with a mix of hope and fear. I know. The rest of the day passes in a blur of errands and small tasks. I stay busy, but my mind is never far from the larger issues at hand. Mike calls in the afternoon, his voice steady and reassuring. How's it going? Progress, I say, though the word feels tentative. She's trying. And you? Are you in this? I pause, considering the question. I don't know yet, Mike. I'm giving her a chance, but it's going to take more than words to fix this. That's fair, he replies. Just remember, you're in control now, Alex. Don't let her take that from you. As the sun sets, I find myself sitting on the back porch, the fading light casting long shadows across the yard. Laura joins me, carrying 2 glasses of iced tea. She sits beside me, leaving a careful distance between us, as if she's afraid to cross an invisible line. I've been thinking, she says after a long silence, about everything, about how I let things get so bad. I glance at her, waiting for her to continue. I got comfortable, she admits, her voice soft. I stopped appreciating what we had. I let myself get swept up in something meaningless because I didn't take the time to see what was right in front of me. Her honesty catches me off guard. For the first time, her words feel genuine, not rehearsed or defensive. And now? I ask. Now, I see everything clearly, she says, her voice steady. I see what I almost lost, and I see how much damage I caused. I lean forward, resting my elbows on my knees. It's not going to be easy, Laura. Even if we get through this, things will never go back to the way they were. I don't want them to, she replies quickly. I want us to be better than we were. Stronger. Her words hang in the air, and I stare out at the yard, the wind rustling through the trees. We'll see, I say finally, one day at a time. That night, I lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house is quiet, but my thoughts are loud, swirling with uncertainty and hope in equal measure. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in weeks, I feel a sliver of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, we can find a way through this. The first counseling session is scheduled for a Friday afternoon. As I park the car outside the therapist's office, the weight of everything we've been through settles heavily on my chest. Laura sits beside me, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The nervous energy radiating from her mirrors my own. "You ready?" I ask, glancing at her. She looks at me, her eyes filled with a mix of determination and fear. "I think so. Are you?" I take a deep breath and nod. "Let's find out." The office is quiet, the walls lined with calming artwork and soft lighting that does little to ease the tension between us. The therapist, a calm woman with sharp eyes and a disarming smile, greets us and guides us into her office. "Alex, Laura," she begins, her voice warm but firm. "You've taken an important first step by being here. This is a space for honesty and growth, but that only works if you're both willing to be open. Are you ready to start?" We both nod, though the weight of what's to come is palpable. The first session is hard, harder than I expected. We talk about the affair, about the choices that led us here. Laura is honest in a way she hasn't been before, laying bare her insecurities, her regrets, and the emptiness that drove her to Jace. Hearing her admit to the emotional void she felt is painful, but it also feels like the first real step toward understanding. "I was selfish," she says, her voice trembling. "I took the easy way out instead of facing what I was feeling. And I hurt you in ways I can't undo." The therapist turns to me. "Alex, how does hearing that make you feel?" I stare at the floor, my thoughts swirling. Angry, I admit. Betrayed. But also, I don't know. Relieved, I guess. It feels like, for the first time, she's not hiding. Laura looks at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "I don't want to hide anymore, Alex. I want to be better, for you, for us." The therapist nods. "That's a good start. But rebuilding trust takes time. It's not about fixing what's broken. It's about building something new from the pieces." As the session ends, I feel drained but also lighter, like a tiny crack of light has pierced the darkness. Laura and I leave the office in silence, but as we drive home, she reaches over and takes my hand. For the first time in weeks, I don't pull away. The next few weeks are a whirlwind of counseling sessions, individual therapy, and long, difficult conversations. Laura makes good on her promises, diving headfirst into the hard work of rebuilding trust. She resigns from her job, cuts all ties with Jace, and focuses on repairing the damage she caused. Meanwhile, I focus on myself, on reclaiming my identity outside of the marriage, on rediscovering what makes me happy. Mike becomes a constant presence, a sounding board for my frustrations and fears. His advice is simple but effective. Keep moving forward. No matter what, just keep moving. One evening, weeks after that first counseling session, Laura and I sit on the back porch, the warm glow of the setting sun casting a golden hue over the yard. She leans against me, her head on my shoulder, and for the first time, it feels natural again. "Do you think we'll make it?" she asks softly. I wrap an arm around her, my gaze fixed on the horizon. "I don't know," I say honestly, "but for the first time, I think we have a chance." She nods, her fingers lacing with mine. That's enough for me. As the sun dips below the horizon, I feel a tentative sense of hope. The road ahead is still uncertain, but it's no longer shrouded in darkness. For the first time, I can see the possibility of a future, different from what I imagined, but maybe better in its own way. Whatever happens, I know one thing for sure. I'm not the man I was before all this. I'm stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever comes next. The journey isn't over, but it's a start. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Life throws challenges our way, but how we rise from them defines us. Have you ever faced a situation that tested your strength or relationships? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping stories of resilience and redemption. Let's navigate life's twists and turns together.